everybody, Jim Palmer, the Newsletter Guru and your Dream Business Coach, and we're getting ready to start this very special 100th episode of Stick Like Glue Radio. I want to let you know we kind of figured out as we got into this interview with David Hooper that we had a real bad phone connection, but David's book is awesome, and I think the content was great, so I just want to let you know, put up with a little bit of static and a little bit of clicking on the line. It was, I'm glad we got on his schedule and were able to do the interview. Good content, bad audio. Enjoy the show. Take care.
This episode of Stick Like Glue Radio is brought to you by Jim Palmer's How to Sell from the Stage Like a Pro training program. Finally, a proven step-by-step formula for closing more sales from the stage with extreme confidence. If you speak from the stage and want to have more audience members anxious to invest in your programs and solutions, then do yourself a favor and invest in Jim's proven formula, and you'll soon be closing more sales like a pro. Check it out today at www.howtosellfromthestage.com. That's www.howtosellfromthestage.com.
Hi, I'm Bob Berg, co-author of The Go-Giver and author of Adversaries into Allies, and you're listening to Stick Like Glue Radio.
Welcome to Stick Like Glue Radio, the only podcast dedicated to helping you create an everlasting bond with your customers so they stay longer, spend more, and refer more. Marketing and business building expert Jim Palmer, known internationally as the Newsletter Guru, is a serial entrepreneur, author, speaker, and coach to other entrepreneurs. Jim is the host of Newsletter Guru TV, a weekly web TV show featuring Jim's unique brand of smart marketing and business building advice. Check it out today at www.newsletterguru.tv. Please welcome your host of Stick Like Glue Radio, Jim Palmer.
Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to Stick Like Glue Radio. This is the only podcast dedicated to helping you create an everlasting bond with your customers so they stay longer, spend more, and refer more. Those are all great things in any business. I am your host, Jim Palmer. I'm committed to helping you build a more profitable business faster, and I'm really excited about this week's show for two reasons. First of all, my special guest is David Hooper. He's the author of a really terrific book called The Rich Switch, and which explores really some simple but very effective steps that most rich people have in common. And, you know, success leaves clues, so we're going to talk about those. The second reason I'm so excited about this week's show is that this is actually the 100th episode of Stick Like Glue Radio. And I know, listen, you're all listening on your, gosh, I almost said Walkmans. That would really date me. You're all listening on your computers or your MP3s, or you're maybe even listening in the cars these days to the podcast, but there are streamers and balloons literally everywhere. But we must press on with the festivities. So let me get the show started. I'll tell you a little bit about my special guest. David Hooper is a marketing expert. He's an author and radio host based in Nashville, Tennessee, a very cool city. As you know, Stephanie and I kind of fell in love with Nashville when we were down there last October. David helps companies sell more product and make more social impact through a combination of both guerrilla and traditional style marketing. David, thank you so much for being my guest on this very festive 100th episode of Stick Like Glue Radio.
I'm glad to be here and glad to be seeing that it's possible to do 100 episodes. It's inspiring for me.
You know what was cool is I had on my to-do list, like we all have to-do lists, to do a podcast, you know, a couple of years ago. 3 years ago. It was, hey, podcasts are big. I'm seeing a few people doing and some success, and I'm all about having multiple platforms to, you know, kind of grow your business. But it was one of those things I never got a hold of and just found time to do. And it was just one of those things. Somebody in a mastermind group that I was in challenged me. He said, man, you've been talking about that for far too long. Either do it or stop talking about it. And I launched it, I believe it was March of 2 years ago. So it's been a really, really great thing for my business. But anyway, yeah, podcasting is very cool, and it really helps you connect with a lot of potential clients and just build your audience. So, you know, David, I lead mastermind groups myself, and I coach several entrepreneurs and small business owners, and they always, you know, often hear me talk about the importance of mindset, because I totally believe that no matter what skills and talents you have as an entrepreneur, if your mindset isn't right, I really believe the chances of your achieving a lot of success are going to be somewhat marginalized. So Well, anyway, before I get into the questions, I kind of get ahead of myself with all the balloons and confetti around here. Is there anything that you'd like to tell our listeners about yourself or your journey in becoming an author and all that stuff that I didn't do in your introduction?
You know, it's funny you mentioned mindset, because that's exactly why I wrote the book, Rich Switch. I work primarily, Nashville is Music City, USA, and I work primarily in the music business. I've done it for 20 years. And as I was working with musicians, I worked with all guys from the garage bands just getting started to the platinum artists that are filling up arenas. And what I noticed was that the ones that were having success were not necessarily the best musicians. They weren't the best players. They didn't have the best songs, but they somehow had this success. So I agree with you. I think that's a great way to start off the topic here, is that mindset is paramount. And that's what got me observing and wanting to share that story is what made me write the Rich Switch.
Awesome. So what does the Rich Switch mean?
Well, the Rich Switch is really just fancy marketing. You know, like I said, I'm a marketing guy. It's like, how can I sell this in a way that is easy to explain, that people are going to know what it is when they hear that. So Rich Switch is basically flipping on the flow of prosperity. Why is it that some people have success and other people do not? So what it is, it's a three-step process. I'm happy to share it with you and go a little bit deeper. One of them is about mastermind, so we can talk about that because you're a mastermind expert yourself, and I'd love to get your opinions on that.
Okay. Well, why don't we just go right there? And I have questions, but I always enjoy a good conversation. So let's talk about masterminding. Why do you find masterminding so powerful?
Well, I think that, Napoleon Hill said it in Think and Grow Rich. Anytime you have two or more people with that definitive purpose, he called it, there's a third person that is formed. And I think that sometimes we get so close to whatever it is that we're doing, we don't see what it is that we could be doing. And I think that it's great to have an outside perspective. In the music business, we do what they call a producer. Producer will come in to record the album, and he'll say, well, listen, guys, I think you tweak this, because the musicians are too close to the music. Same thing for us with our businesses. Sometimes we get too close to it. We think it should be done one way, or we only know one way to do it, and they can just open up the outside.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Sometimes when I'm talking to potential coaching clients, you're probably familiar with this, David. A lot of them will say, well, I do have an accountability partner, and we meet, for lunch once a month and things like that. And I said, well, first of all, nothing wrong with that, but it's completely different, okay? I mean, if you're having lunch once a month with a friend and you agree this is what I'm going to do and this is what you're going to do, and then you come back next month and neither of you have done your goals, I mean, where's the negative outcome, or, where's the, impetus to do better? When you're in a mastermind group where there's a lot of people that will really hold you accountable, and as a leader, one of the things I do in my groups is if someone says they're going to do something, I'll say by when, so I'll make them name a date, and then I'll say, okay, so on our next call in 30 days, first thing I'm going to do is ask you if you got it done. And nobody likes to not, just like me earlier, I shared my story of the podcast. I got tired of going to my mastermind group where I'm a member and having people challenge me in a big way and say, man, you're not getting done what you said you're going to get done. So it's very powerful when you have skin in the game, I think, and when you're part of a mastermind group that you invest in versus a quote-unquote accountability partner. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, I agree with that. And I also think just having those other people here to support you, showing you that it's possible. If we look at famous mastermind groups, and I love your opinion on this. I think of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a mastermind group. Weight Watchers, mastermind group. Your family, your church, Sunday school class, they're all mastermind groups. They're people with different perspectives all trying to go into the same place or similar places, parallel places that can say, hey, I did this and this worked for me, yet also hold you accountable. So, yeah, it's extremely powerful. We're already doing it, but have a formal mastermind experience is paramount to success.
I agree with that. Sometimes people will want to form groups where it's all people in a certain income level or revenue stage or some level of experience. Some people like to have all women's groups, all men's groups. Again, nothing wrong with that. My preference has always been, I'm in my fifth year of leading mastermind groups, I do a complete mix of men and women, beginners and experienced people, online marketers, brick and mortars, because everybody I find brings a different perspective. And one of the things I've learned over all these years is that naivete is a good thing. And I think the more success we achieve as entrepreneurs and we go down this path, we start to prejudge the outcome, or we'll even prejudge. We'll ask a question and kind of have an opinion, very strong opinion, whether it's going to work or not. But what I have learned, David, is I've been in groups where someone fairly new, almost meek to speak up in front of the group, right, might say, I'm not sure if this is a good idea, or I'm not sure if this is a good answer or not. That's always my clue to really turn up my ears and listen, because a good idea is going to come out of that person's mouth, because it's almost like, when you're a child, anything goes and you'll try anything. But so that's why I like to mix up my groups. I also believe, candidly, for another reason, that we all start somewhere. I was very blessed 6 years ago to be part of a group that had some pretty successful people, a lot more successful than I was at the time, and so I think there's kind of a give-back factor also. I know that probably a lot packed in that response there.
Yeah, I think a mastermind can show you what is possible on either side of the spectrum. Certainly, as we get older and more experienced in business, I look back at the things that I used to do, and I think, how did I do that? That was amazing, right? And we think as we get more experience, like, that'll never work. And certainly I'm in an industry that would say, hey, that would never work. The record industry, it's been flipped upon its head, and it's taking those outside-of-the-box guys to think of a model that would work, and it does work. It actually works a lot better than it used to. So I think we can do that in the industry. So Mastermind, agreed. I think it's absolutely the foundation that you need to do well in business or in life.
I don't think I've ever, I don't know about you, David, I don't think I've ever met a very successful person who was not in a mastermind group and furthermore did not invest in some sort of coaching. The highly successful people, when you think about it, the more success they have, the more I think people look at them and go, wow, they got it all together. But they're just willing to invest in getting the help to kind of fill in the areas where their skills may not be up to par, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, working in the music industry and kind of being behind some of the major music campaigns over the last 20 years, the thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people, I would say that the only time my name appears is on the check that I get. And a lot of people want to make it look like they're self-made, or they want to make it look like they didn't have any help. But the truth is, behind the closed doors, everybody's getting help, and absolutely coaching is one of those things.
Absolutely. So we're both fans of masterminding, that's clear. Let's switch off a little bit. What do you think makes some people more successful than other people? Let's kind of go back to the beginning of the rich switch theory.
Well, that would be step one of the rich switch, which would be writing goals down. I think that you need to know where it is that you want to go. If we were to build a house, we're going to have a blueprint. If we were to take a road trip, we're going to have a map and know exactly what the destination is going to be. So I think getting really, really clear on the goal that you want is absolutely paramount, because you're going to end up somewhere. It's like the Cheshire Cat said, and now I'm forgetting the book, Alice in Wonderland. So I don't want to be here. So anywhere, somewhere, and I think we're all going to end up somewhere, but where is it that you want to be? We've got to know, and that's why it's just writing it down. It isn't that writing it down necessarily has magical powers, but writing it down does force you to get really, really clear. My suggestion is to come up with 10 big goals that you want in your life, and what I do is I write those down daily, and just to get in alignment with those goals, take 3 action steps. Write down 3 action steps daily on what you're doing to achieve those goals. For example, say I want a better relationship with my wife. Well, I'm going to have date night. I'm going to have focused conversation with her every day. I'm going to, whatever it is for you. So having those 10 goals, writing them down, getting really clear on them, and take it back to Napoleon Hill, just be thinking about them constantly, which if we can go back to Mastermind for a minute, that's the really great thing about that, is those guys are going to bring you back. They're going to reset your course. They're going to make sure that you're on top of things every week or how often that you meet. So, hey, Jim, what about that podcast you've been talking about? Because it's easy to get diverted, and they're going to help keep you on track as well. So I think the 2 things work in alignment with each other.
Absolutely. You know, I have I'm a big fan of writing them down. I basically live by my calendar, and so I don't have like pads and posties all over the place. I have hard appointments on my calendar, and those are like in green. I have my to-do list and other things that I regularly do as reminders. And so I've been doing this podcast for over 2 years. I've been doing my weekly videos, Newsletter Guru TV, going on, I'm into my 5th year now, weekly, and I still have a constant recurring appointment to film that week's episode. And so I see it constantly, so I'm a big fan of writing things down. I also put down in another color ideas that I have, things that I want to work on. So if I look at my calendar today after, first of all, there's the appointment that, you know, we're talking, and then I have some things after. Now, if at the end of the day, some of the things that are kind of orange for the to-do list, I'll just move those around. Or if I say, you know what, that's not going to happen for at least a month, I'll just change the date and it goes zipping forward. But in a month later, I will see it again, so I'm constantly reminded. And I just think, you know, the way we are today with technology, whether it's your iPhone or your iPad or whatever you're looking at, you're always kind of, your calendar's there. So I kind of let the calendar be my place where I write things down.
Yeah, a calendar is absolutely important because not only do goals kind of get out of whack if you're not being focused on them, your time can as well. And I think time is just, it's made up of, we think of it sometimes in like years or months or weeks, but it's really just those little moments, and I think taking care of the little moments will let you take care of the big ones. So absolutely, it's good advice.
Yeah. So when I have those goals, by the way, I'll share one more thing. When I have those goals, I'm a big fan like you of writing down the goals. When entrepreneurs and, you know, everybody suffers from shiny object syndrome because every day a new idea comes, a new JV partner or new this or that. It's going to be the greatest thing. Just, it won't even take your time, you know, make you a lot of money. All those things that you run into. I run them through a filter that I basically ask myself. I said, this is really good. So I run it through the filter, and the number one question I ask myself, is this going to help or hurt me from moving forward toward my already, you know, pre-agreed upon goals? So if someone said, hey, Jim, I'd like to work with you on this, and it looks like it really could be a great opportunity, yet even dedicating 10 or 20% of my day or week to it means it's going to slow down some of the goals I've already set for myself this year, then I don't do it. And saying no is one of the greatest things you can learn to say to really reach your goals. Have you done something like that?
Well, I struggle with something I call it FOMO, which is fear of missing out. And I think all entrepreneurs do. Sun Tzu says opportunities multiply, they are seeds. So the more successful you get, the more opportunity that you have. And I think just saying no, you've got to. There's too many opportunities, and all of them are things that are either, as you said, going to get you closer to where you are or take you further away. So yeah, but it's a struggle though. It's a struggle though, and you really have to sit down, I think, with everyone and say, is this going to get me closer or further? And I don't have the magic answer for it other than what you just said. Just looking at every single one.
You know, step 2 in your book, and it's a three-step sequence in your book. Step 2 is you get what you give. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I believe the book was, and this will work for not just money. I wrote the book about money, though, because I think that's one of the, really, it's Maslow's hierarchy. We've got to take care of shelter, food, clothing, love. Money is one of those things. We'll take care of a lot of those. So I look at money as energy, and I think that we get too caught up when we need money because we're in such a scary position of never letting that energy flow. We don't spend money, and that might be from marketing your business. It might be what you're talking about with coaching. We don't make forward moves. So you get what you give. I really believe that if it's going to be that circle of energy, we'll call it. I know I'm going to get a little woo-woo for some people, but in order for it to come in, it has to go out. Similar to love, you can't love somebody and have the true loving relationship without having them love you back or vice versa. It just doesn't work. It's a one-way thing, and it's not nearly as powerful as when everybody is involved. So money, if you want to get it, you've got to give it, and that's what that chapter is about. And I suggest just starting the habit of giving. It could be 1%. The thing is that you want to do is to get in the habit. I'm not here to judge or tell you what to do. Bible, if you believe in the Bible, talks about 10%. A lot of religious texts believe in 10%. And a lot of very wealthy secular people that aren't religious at all, I'm one of them, believe in this. So it's just about giving money away and then trusting that the universe, Jesus, God, whatever your higher power is going to bring it back to you. And I think that gets you in a mindset, even if you don't believe any of the religious stuff, I think it just gets you in a mindset of trust and trusting that things are going to be okay, which I think is important to making your best business decision. You can't worry about every little decision that you make. You'll be paralyzed if you won't make any decision at all.
There's so much we can talk about, and you're right. I do a live event every 6 months called the Dream Business Academy, and the first thing I teach the morning of the second day is about it's called mindset, money and success. And people that hoard money, store money, are stingy with money, or fear that they're going to run out, those people, by and large, do not achieve success because they think money is finite. And actually, money and success is infinite. I mean, there is more than enough opportunity. There's more than enough money to go around. But one of the things that I've learned, and I'll completely clean with you. I learned it very late in life. That I do agree with you. You do get what you give. I mean, Zig Ziglar said, "You help enough people get what they want, they'll, and you'll get what you want." Bob Berg, I love my good friend Bob, is the go-giver, always talking about having a giver and a servant mentality. And it's a scary thing. Before I started my business, a little over 12 years ago, I had gone through 15 months of unemployment. I also had cancer. So I started my business really not only broke, but heavily in debt. And so money was really, really tight. And about my fifth or sixth year, I started really embracing this whole, I am a Christian, so I call it tithing. But like you say, there's plenty of evidence to whether it's the universe, vibrations, or whatever secular beliefs you have, you give without expecting, and you end up getting back more than you give. And so it's very, very powerful. And but it does take, oddly enough, here's a key word, it does take faith. Whether you're a person of faith or not, it takes faith to give without expecting anything in return.
Well, that's really what the Rich Switch was about giving where you can't get anything back in return. I suggest charities involving children, people that can't possibly pay you back. I think a lot of times we keep like a point system when we say, well, Jim, I was on your podcast and I bought you some pizza, so therefore you owe me something. No, it doesn't work like that. So I think when you give to children and people who can't possibly, or just give anonymously when they aren't going to know, I suggest that just to get into that habit.
Yeah, I taught a couple things at my boot camp in Las Vegas. So you want to not have to think about it. And if you're a person of faith, and maybe you have to think about it every Sunday before you go to worship or whatever. But what I do is my wife and I figure we have 2 or 3 kind of main nonprofits that we support. And so we make a commitment to those nonprofits, and then we have those automatically debited from our checking account on a monthly basis. So I don't think about if one week maybe you had a bad week, you lost a client, you don't know what your frame of mind is. What am I going to write the check for? I've done that, so I don't even think about it. One of the reasons I think that's powerful, by the way, is that money's coming out, and I know it's coming out, so it really makes me drive even harder. So it's kind of a little bonus there. Another kind of tips to help you with your money mindset is carry money. I know we're a big plastic society, but carry money around. Next time you open your wallet, reach your hand in your pocket. I mean, carry a couple $100 in 20s, carry a 50, whatever. It really will help your mindset. And then also, I think, be a good tipper, which kind of goes to just being a generous person. But, when you do those things, it really, you're giving away money, you're doing kind of the right thing, but you're also doing something to your mind. Your subconscious mind is saying, I'm giving away money, I'm not worried about it, and therefore you're much more receptive and open to those relationships and those opportunities where money's going to flow back to you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that one of the things that you're trying to get at here is what I call like acting as if. So I think if you were to think, well, what would a rich person do, or whatever your goal is? Well, a rich person would maybe have a housekeeper. They get their house cleaned. Well, how much does that cost? It might cost you $100, $50, $80. Not that much money. Well, a rich person would valet their car. Rich person would tip well, as you're saying. Rich person would have some cash on them. So if you can start acting as if, that's when it starts to change. And it would feel maybe a little bit weird for some people. It's kind of like dressing up in a suit. I don't like to do it. I work in the music business. But if I were to do that a lot, I'm going to get more comfortable doing that. So whatever it is that you want, just start doing it. Even if it's uncomfortable, it'll get more comfortable. And you'll get used to it, and you just won't even think about it after a while.
Yeah. So, you write about words having power in your book also. Why do words have such power, David?
I think it goes back to the physical manifestation of, like, spoken word, if you will. We're talking about the written word. If you're talking about spoken word, it's like a thought that it comes out as a vibration. Of course, thoughts are vibrations. We can't maybe read them like we could. Like I go into a recording studio, for example. We're not reading thoughts in there, but we can read the vibration that comes out of our mouth when we sing or when we talk. So I think that words are extremely powerful. I think words it kind of really ties all this in together. I think it's a great thing to talk about because it's what we use to get clear on things. And I think you have to actually use the words that you want instead of just being like, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's really specificity.
Give me an example of where you've used that in either your life or your business, David. Because I'm getting what you mean, but give me an example.
Well, okay, words having power. Well, let me give you an example of how I got my last house. I mean, it's just getting clear and being very specific with the words I use of the type of house. I mean, getting specific as to what I want the amenities to be, the location that I want it to be, the color of it, how many stories, the internal workings of it. Like I said, well, I want wood floors, I want a fire pit, or I want a deck, or whatever. I mean, I think that's where it gets really powerful. It goes back to specificity.
In your book, you have, I believe it's called the Rich Switch Formula, which is belief plus faith plus gratitude. Is that in the Rich Switch form? It's hard to say that fast. The Rich Switch Formula.
Well, that is one of the formulas. The three-step process is what we talked about. It's masterminding, it's giving, and it's getting clear. So, but yeah, absolutely. You have to have the belief, just like we were talking about with the trust. And you can't just go into this thing thinking that it's not going to work. Sometimes you're going to be surprised. I think if you're thinking like, this seems kind of wacky, David, try it on small things where you could get your belief around it. Try it on maybe. We talked about acting as if, like maybe buying a cup of coffee instead of having that maid service or that brand new car that you want to get. But yeah, you absolutely have to have a belief. You have to know that it's possible. You have to be able to formulate the idea in your head before it can actually happen.
Awesome. Hey, we got about 3 minutes. I want to ask you one more quick question.
Sure.
You write in the book about avoiding negativity, which is obviously a phenomenal idea. I pretty much limit how much news and things like that I take in, but why is it a good idea to avoid negativity as one of the switches to getting rich?
As a marketing guy, if you show me the donut, I'm going to find the hole. My job is to find problems with what you're doing and try to make them better. And that works in marketing, but that's not going to work in every aspect of my life. Kids, girlfriend, wife, family. Nobody wants to hear you find every single problem. So I started thinking about the negativity-free day and said, well, what can I do? And, well, I'm just going to eliminate it altogether. It's just not a time and it's not a place for it. It's not to say that there won't be some negative things there, but you just focus on the positive. That's really what that is. And I think that gets you looking for the potential. Just to, again, take it back full circle to talk about like masterminding. It gets you looking for the potential. You see what's possible when you're forced to think about the payoff, or in some cases the secondary payoff. For example, hey, I was in a car accident. Well, the secondary payoff is I got to go to the chiropractor. She's really nice, and I've got this very great experience that I have with her every day. There's always a secondary payoff to every single thing that you do. And I think that just forces that habit a little bit to where you can start thinking about your goals more clearly, where you can just get really specific and be focused on your intentions.
You know, that's an interesting term. I'm probably going to borrow that in my future conversations. Secondary payoff, because I'm all about investing in the future. Investing, because I think there's the current you and there's the future you. There's your current business, there's your future business, and the fastest way to get there is to invest in the skills or talents or help or coach or mastermind that's going to help you get there. But I think what holds a lot of people back before they make that leap is they're saying, okay, well, if that's going to cost me $500 a month, I just can't afford that. And they don't look at the secondary payoff, which is if I invest $500 a month and I get even one idea that could produce another $2,000 to $5,000, $10,000 a month in revenue, it will dwarf the initial investment. So I think people really have to figure out when I'm considering an investment, you know, what's the secondary payoff? I like the way you said that.
Yeah, I think it's something that we don't look at because there's a part of us, even without making that investment, there's a secondary payoff to you not making that investment. So, well, I've got to not, you know, I wouldn't have the money, but they're comfortable with having, well, I wouldn't have the money if I spent it, but they're comfortable with having that money in the bank, if you will. Like, I could give you like maybe a better example would be like an alcoholic. He knows he wants to stop drinking, but there's a part of him that likes getting drunk still, and that's the secondary payoff. We all know what we're supposed to do, but there's a secondary payoff that can keep us you know, where we are. But there's also, as you said, there's the payoff, and then there's secondary payoffs to moving forward as well. So it's absolutely something to think about.
Awesome. Hey, David, this has been a fun half hour. Really enjoyed speaking with you and learning about your book and how you built your business. How can folks listening to Stick Like Glue Radio get in touch with you? What's a good website and things like that?
Well, I have a marketing blog up at bigbold'impact.com, and I analyze various businesses, have a lot of mindset things similar along to what we're talking about. And it's a great place if you're interested in selling more stuff or making more social impact. It's really written for the people that are looking to do something beyond money, but money is certainly the foundation, as I mentioned, with the Rich Switch, so it'll help you get more money too. So bigboldimpact.com, and then Rich Switch is available at Amazon.com. I think it's $4 or $5.
Awesome.
Very, very cheap.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. Really my great pleasure to have you on our 100th episode of Stick Like Glue Radio.
Well, Jim, I'm glad to be here, and congratulations on 100 episodes.
Thank you. Hey, folks, that wraps up this very special episode of Stick Like Glue Radio with David Hooper. Stick Like Glue Radio is the only podcast dedicated to helping you create an everlasting bond with your customers so they stay longer, spend more, and refer more. I am your host, Jim Palmer. I'm committed to helping you build a more profitable business faster. Watch for another great episode of Stick Like Glue Radio next week, and until then, keep taking action, keep moving forward, and don't ever, ever, ever give up. Hey, now go out there and do something nice for somebody today. Take care, everybody.
You've been listening to Stick Like Glue Radio, the only podcast dedicated to helping you create an everlasting bond with your customers so they stay longer, spend more, and refer more. Stick Like Glue Radio features Jim Palmer's unique brand of smart marketing and business building advice for action-oriented entrepreneurs. To make sure you don't miss a single profit-boosting show, subscribe to this podcast at www.getjimpalmer.com. If you know other entrepreneurs looking for the fastest way to higher profits in their business, please tell them about the Stick Like Glue Radio podcast. Now go and implement what you've learned and boost your profits. See you next week for more Stick Like Glue Radio.